So hello everyone, this is Arumita Ma'am from Katexpert Nagpur, and as all of you know that we are on the final lap of CAT 25. Today we are going to take up one reading comprehension from CAT 24 previous year, slot 1. So let's get started. Landing in Australia, the British colonialists weren't much impressed with the small-bodied, slender-suited marsupial called bandicoots. Their muzzle, which is much too long, gives them an air exceedingly stupid. One naturalist noted in 1805 they nicknamed one type the zebra rat because of its black striped rump. So even if you don't know what's a bandicoot and you get confused that, oh, this paragraph is pretty difficult for us because we don't even know about what they're talking about. So from this line you can easily make out that somewhere they're talking about some rat. So when these the Britishers, the colonialists, means these the people who actually suppressed the weaker countries, you can say economically or maybe politically, when they came down to Australia, what they did, they found a marsupial, that is something like a rat, which they called a zebra rat because of its black striped rump, means it had a pouch on its back, and they called it bandicoots. Then what happened? Let's go move further. So, silly looking or not, though the zebra rat, the smallest bandicoot, more commonly known today as the western barred bandicoot, exhibited a genius for survival in the harsh outback where its ancestors had persisted for some 26 million years. Its birth were triggered by rainfall in the Bone Desert. It carried its breath mint-sized babies in a backward-facing pouch so mothers could forage for food and dig shallow, camouflaged shelters. So later on, whether it was silly looking or not, what they said was now they have named it the Western Barred Bandicoot, and they were pretty genius in survival in the harsh outback when the environment was not pretty good. It was harsh, but still they were, the ancestors were able to survive since 26 million years. And its birth were triggered by rainfall, means somewhere in the desert areas, the arid areas, their population was pretty good, and they basically, this para talks about the features of the bandicoot, and they had a backward facing pouch like a kangaroo has a pouch to carry the joey. Same way they carried the female bandicoots. They used to carry the small baby bandicoots when they were used to search for food, and they had to search for, like, they had to dig some hidden shelters for them to get safe. Now let's move further. Still, these adaptations did not prepare the western barred bandicoots for the colonial area transformation of its ecosystem. Means now even you're talking about the camouflage shelters and everything, still these bandicoots, if you say, they were not prepared. For what they were not prepared? They were not prepared for the colonial era transformation. Now what transformation happened? When particularly the onslaught of imported British animals from kettles and rabbits that damaged delicate desert vegetation to ravenous house cats that soon developed the taste of the bandicoots. Several of the dozen odd bandicoot species were extinct, and by 1940s the western barred bandicoots, whose original range stretched across much of the continent, persisted only in the two predator-free islands in Shark Bay of Australia's western coast. Now what happens when Britishers came down to Australia? What happened? They did not come alone. What did they bring along? They brought rabbits, and they brought with them cats. And what happened? The rabbits ate the vegetation on which the bandicoots survived. And later on, the cats, what did they do? They actually feed on the bandicoots. So gradually what happened, their entire, you can say, the bandicoots were, now the species was up to on the verge of extinction, because somewhere when the Britishers came down to Australia, they brought with them house cats, the ravenous means hungry house cats. These cats, what did they do? They actually made bandicoot their food, and the rabbits, what did they do? They ate the vegetation on which the bandicoots survived. So these were the two reasons. And gradually what happened in the 1940s? Now they were only surviving on two predator-free islands wherein nobody was harming them. That is the Shark Bay of Australia's western coast. Let's move further. Now, isolated fauna, one second. Yeah, so the isolated fauna had simply not been exposed to these predators, says Reese Pedler, an ecologist with the Wild Desert Conservation Program. Now, Wild Deserts is using descendants of those few thousand island survivors called Shark Bay Bandicoots in a new effort to see the mainland. Means there were only few thousands island survivors called Shark Bay Bandicoots. Now they were called the Shark Bay Bandicoots because that was the only place now wherein they were surviving. And they've imported 20 bandicoots to a preserve. Means still the species was not, you can say it was not completely extinct, because they had brought 20 bandicoots to a preserve on the edge of the Streleski Desert in the remote interior of the New South Wales. This sanctuary is a challenging place, desolate much of the year, with one of the world's most mercurial rainfall patterns, relentless droughts followed by sudden drenching floods. So now let's take up the last paragraph. For now, though a recent surge of rainfall had led to a bandicoot joy boom, raising the wild desert population to about 100, means in that desert now they had got 20 bandicoots, and now the population had surged to 100 because of a good rainfall and everything. And also with other sanctuaries adding to that number, means the other sanctuaries were also adding to the number. There are also signs of rebirth in the landscape itself. Means even the environment, it is now, like you can say, even the environment is also helping. It's showing the signs of recovery. There are also signs of rebirth in the landscape itself. With their constant digging, who's constant digging? The bandicoots constant digging. The bandicoots trap moisture and allow for seed germination. Means somewhere even the bandicoots were digging a lot, and they were helping to trap the moisture and promote the seed growth, helping the desert to recover from what? From the cattle damage. Okay, and the desert can restore itself. They have now nicknamed a flattering one this time. We call them ecosystem managers, means engineers, I'm sorry. Means somewhere wherein initially these Britishers had called them the zebra trapped something, and now they have called them ecosystem engineers, and now people are giving them a flattering nickname. Whom? To the bandicoots. So let's take up the questions now. Which one of the following statements provide a gist of the passage? The onslaught of animals such as cat, rabbits and house cats brought in by the British led to the extinction of the western barred bandicoot. Marsupials are going to extinct because due to the colonial era transformation of the ecosystem, which also destroyed natural vegetation. A type of bandicoot was nearly wiped out by invasive species, but rescuers now pin hopes on a remnant island population. The negligent attitude of the British colonists towards these bandicoot evidenced by the names given to them to their annihilation. See, if you take the first one, the onslaught of animals such as cats, cattle, rabbits and house cats brought in by the British led to the extinction. It was not extincted completely, right? It was somewhat, we are talking about the extinction. It never said that, it said that it was near to extinction. It never said that it was extincted. So we can eliminate the A1. Marsupials are going extinct due to the colonial era transformation of the ecosystem, which also destroyed natural vegetation. See, it is not saying all the marsupials. It is saying few of them. Right? Some of them. It is not saying all the marsupials. A type of bandicoot was nearly wiped out, yes, till here we are right, by the invasive species. But rescuers now pin hopes on the remnant island population. Exactly, this was happening. Let's take the fourth one. The negligent attitude of the British colonialists towards these bandicoot evidenced by the names given to them to their annihilation. If you talk about annihilation, somewhere it was not true. Somewhere we can say it was not true. So we feel that C is the correct option. Let's take up the next question. The text uses the word exclosures because wild desert has adopted a measure of restoring cattle damaged deserts to green landscapes. Exclosure, as I already told you the meaning of exclosure, that we were keeping out some animals, okay. We were not restoring the cattle damaged desert, excluding animals to make the island predator free. We were not excluding all the animals, right? We were excluding some animals. So entire thing was not excluded. Barring the entry of invasive species. Yes, the invasive species, that is the species who were already there in Australia. Then wearing the main desert of feral cats and biblies. They were not they were not excluded. They were actually included. So C is the correct answer. Let's take up the next question. Then, which one of the following options does not represent the characteristics of the western barred bandicoot? Shallow diggers having an elongated muzzle, mouth and nose. Okay. Smallest black striped marsupial, okay, that uses camouflage and it does not use the camouflage. It does not hide itself. It does not hide. So it was never given that it hides itself. No. So we can eliminate this one. Long thin nose, black striped back pouch for joeys. Yeah, okay. Look of a rat but with a baby pouch and a slender snout. We have to find out which one does not give. Okay. So if you talk about option number B, smallest black striped marsupial that uses camouflage and drink. It does not use the camouflage. So we can actually use the B one because in the question it was asked that not represent, right? So question number B. So let's take up question number 3. Which one of the following does not represent the characteristics of the western barred bandicoot? Shallow diggers having an elongated muzzle. It was already given in the passage. Smallest black striped marsupial that uses smallest black striped marsupial. Till here it was correct, but then that uses camouflage. No, it does not hide. It does not hide itself. So this can be one of the answers. Long thin nose given in the passage. Black striped back pouches for joey is what mentioned in the passage. Look of a rat, they already told us, but with a baby pouch and slender snout, again that was given in the passage. So B is the correct answer. Let's take up the last question. According to the text, the western barred bandicoots now have a flattering name because aided in altering an arid environment. Okay, yes, it did that. By digging it and giving it moisture, it did this. Grown fivefold in terms of population, no. They had grown from 20 to 100, but it was not because of them this happened. It was because of the environment and because of the other favorable conditions, because they were digging it and making the area quite moisture. But then you cannot say that it was helping in terms of population, so we can eliminate that. Led to a surge and increase in rainfall, no. They didn't get this name ecosystem engineers because they were helping in increasing of rainfall. This was not given in the passage. Led to a revival in preserving the species. It was not somewhere, not because of them. It was not because of them. It was because maybe of some other reasons, but it was not because of the bandicoots that they were preserving the species. So answer A is correct.